dark forest surrounding Rhinelander, Wisconsin, there exists a creature so fearsome and unnatural that even the bravest souls hesitate to speak of it. Known as the Hodag, this terrifying beast is said to be born of fire and torment, a creature born from the very ashes of suffering. Its legend, rooted in the town's grim past, has lived on in whispers, passed down from one generation to the next. The Hodag is described as a hulking, bull-like carnivore, with massive horns jutting from its head and a row of thick, jagged spines running down its back. Its eyes burn with a feral hunger, glowing with a vicious intelligence that sends chills down the spine of anyone unlucky enough to encounter it. The creature's claws are said to be as sharp as razors, and its teeth, long, curved and pointed, are capable of tearing through flesh with ease. But it is not just its fearsome appearance that makes it so terrifying. It is the dark story of its creation. The legend says that the Hodag was born from the ashes of cremated oxen, a horrific consequence of the abuse these animals suffered at the hands of their masters in Rhinelander. In the early days of the town, oxen were used for heavy labour, often treated with brutal cruelty. The animals were pushed beyond their limits, worked to the point of exhaustion, beaten and starved until they could endure no more. It is said that when these oxen were finally put to rest, their suffering did not end. Instead, their accumulated pain and rage gave birth to something dark and unnatural, a creature made of their collective torment. One fateful night, after a particularly brutal winter, a large fire raged through Rhinelander. It was said to have started in a nearby barn where the remains of abused oxen were burned. As the flames consumed the carcasses, something strange happened, something that could not be explained. From the heat and smoke, the Hodag emerged, a twisted, vengeful incarnation of all the suffering and misery these animals had endured. Its very existence was an embodiment of rage, a creature that would stop at nothing to wreak havoc upon those responsible for the pain it was born from. As the Hodag wandered the forest surrounding Rhinelander, it became a terror that haunted the local people. They spoke of its eerie, guttural growl echoing through the trees, a sound that would freeze anyone who heard it in their tracks. Some claim to have seen the beast, its massive horns gleaming in the moonlight, its spine arched in an unnatural curve, ready to pounce. Those who ventured too deep into the woods would often never return, their screams lost to the wind, leaving only the faintest trace of blood behind. The townsfolk tried everything they could to rid themselves of the Hodag. Hunters with rifles and traps ventured into the woods, but no one could ever seem to capture it. The beast would always slip away, vanishing into the forest as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind only fear and unease. As time went on, the Hodag became more than just a story. It became a symbol of the town's dark past, a reminder of the cruelty that had birthed it. Today, many in Rhinelander still speak of the creature in hushed tones. Some say the Hodag still roams the forests, its bloodlust unsatisfied, waiting for the next unfortunate soul to cross its path. Others believe it is just a legend, a tale spun from the fear and guilt of a town haunted by its own history. But one thing remains certain. In the dense woods of Rhinelander, under the shadow of the trees, there are whispers of something lurking, something waiting, and if you listen closely, you might hear the growl of the Hodag, a sound that will freeze your blood and leave you wondering if the legend is truly just that, or something far more sinister. explore the mysterious legend of Area 51. Let your mind wander as we delve into the tales of secrecy, government conspiracies, and the question, are we truly alone? Area 51 is one of the most famous and enduring urban legends in modern times, often associated with government secrecy, extraterrestrial life, and mysterious UFO sightings. Officially known as a classified section of the Nevada Test and Training Range, Area 51 is a highly restricted military base located in the remote Nevada desert. While it serves as a testing site for experimental aircraft and weapons, the site has become the centre of countless conspiracy theories over the years, with many believing it holds evidence of extraterrestrial visitors and their advanced technology. The origins of the Area 51 legend date back to the late 1940s and 1950s, a period marked by the rapid development of aviation technology and a growing interest in UFO sightings. The US government's secrecy surrounding the activities at Area 51 only fueled public curiosity. Speculation intensified in the 1980s when a man named Bob Lazar claimed that he had worked at a site near Area 51 called S4, where he said the US government was reverse engineering alien spacecraft. Lazar's detailed descriptions of flying saucers, anti-gravity propulsion, and alien technology captured the public's imagination, even though his claims were widely disputed and lacked verifiable evidence. Over the decades, Area 51 became a symbol of government cover-ups, and the idea that the US military was hiding knowledge of extraterrestrial life. UFO enthusiasts believe that Area 51 holds physical evidence of alien visitors, including crashed UFOs, and possibly even the bodies of extraterrestrials. Many also connect the base to the infamous 1947 Roswell incident, in which a mysterious object crashed in New Mexico. While the government eventually explained that the object was a weather balloon part of a classified project, many still believe it was an alien spacecraft and that its wreckage was transported to Area 51 for study. In addition to Lazar's claims, there have been numerous reports of strange lights and unidentified flying objects near Area 51, further fueling the legend. These sightings are often attributed to the secret testing of advanced military aircraft, such as the U-2 spy plane or the SR-71 Blackbird, both of which were developed and tested in the area. However, for those who believe in the extraterrestrial connection, these explanations are seen as mere cover stories. Despite the widespread speculation and intrigue, there has never been any concrete evidence to support the idea that Area 51 contains extraterrestrial technology or visitors from other planets. In fact, in 2013, the CIA officially acknowledged the existence of Area 51 for the first time, releasing declassified documents that detailed its role in testing advanced aircraft, but made no mention of aliens or UFOs. Deep in the shadowed forests of Bear Creek, North Carolina, lies a patch of barren earth known as the Devil's Tramping Ground. This ominous circle, located near Harper's Crossroads, is a chilling 40-foot ring where no vegetation grows and no animal dares linger. Locals claim it's cursed, a place haunted by the devil himself, who treads this ground nightly in a sinister ritual. For centuries, stories have circulated about the eerie clearing. People say that when midnight falls, the devil rises from the underworld, pacing the circle with dark intent, plotting his next act of evil. His heavy, unseen footsteps scorch the earth, leaving it lifeless, unable to support even the smallest blade of grass. No matter how much time passes, or how often people try to replant it, nothing grows in the devil's circle. Brave souls who have attempted to camp within the ring tell of inexplicable occurrences. They report feelings of dread so intense it's as if a dark presence stands beside them, watching. Items left inside the circle are mysteriously found outside by morning, as if some unseen force cast them aside, angry at their intrusion. Others claim to hear faint whispers in the night, growing louder until they're forced to flee, their minds unravelling from the chilling sensation of being stalked by something unseen. Locals warn that nothing stays in the devil's tramping ground without consequence. Those who have dared to linger too long, mocking the legend, have reported strange misfortunes afterward, accidents, illnesses, and haunting nightmares of a dark figure pacing circles around them, his fiery eyes fixed upon their very soul. The devil's tramping ground remains, a barren, haunted scar in the woods of North Carolina. It is a place that repels life, an eternal reminder of an ancient evil lurking beneath the surface. And so, the warning endures. If you find yourself near Bear Creek, steer clear of the circle, for the devil still paces there, leaving his mark on the earth, and perhaps on any soul foolish enough to cross his path. Nestled in the shadowy woods of Connecticut lies Dudleytown, an abandoned settlement long deserted, yet shrouded in a legend so dark that locals dare not approach. Known as the Village of the Damned, Dudleytown is said to be cursed, a place where misfortune and madness consumed all who once called it home. Though the town has been reclaimed by nature, its eerie past haunts the trees, and whispers of its sinister history linger in the night air. The story begins with the Dudley family, who settled here in the 1700s. According to legend, they brought a curse with them, a curse that had followed them from England, steeped in betrayal and misfortune. Soon after they arrived, strange occurrences began. Crops failed, livestock vanished, and settlers faced strange, violent deaths. Many residents fell into madness, claiming to see dark figures lurking at the edge of the forest. Some even spoke of hearing whispers and laughter echoing in the stillness, voices from the shadows calling them into the woods. Dudleytown's decline was swift and brutal. By the 1800s, the few remaining families abandoned the town, fleeing the unshakable sense of dread that clung to it. They left behind decaying homes and stories of mysterious disappearances, tragic suicides, and madness that seemed to plague anyone who lingered too long. Locals believe the land itself is cursed, a dark energy woven into the soil, infecting all who come near. Today it is said that the spirits of those who perished in Dudleytown still roam the empty streets, forever trapped by the curse. Though the town is now off limits, curiosity seekers still attempt to visit, drawn by the sinister reputation of Dudleytown. Many who sneak onto the land report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, hearing faint whispers or even seeing shadowy figures moving among the ruins. Some have left in terror, claiming they felt invisible hands pressing down on their shoulders, as if something were trying to pull them into the darkness. The warnings are clear. Stay away from Dudleytown, for the curse remains, waiting for those foolish enough to disturb the silence of the haunted ghost town. Those who venture there may find themselves trapped, ensnared by a darkness that has claimed many before, and will not hesitate to claim more. Welcome to the chilling tale of Mercy Brown, an urban legend from the quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island. Relax, close your eyes, and let this mysterious story take you back in time. In the small, quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island, during the late 19th century, the Brown family was plagued by tragedy. Tuberculosis, a deadly disease with no known cure at the time, had already claimed the lives of several members of the family. The illness was known as consumption, due to how it appeared to waste away its victims. George Brown, the patriarch, watched helplessly as one by one his loved ones fell ill and died. His wife, Mary Eliza, was the first to succumb, followed by his eldest daughter, Mary Olive, both taken within a few short years of each other. Despite these losses, George hoped the worst had passed. However, his youngest daughter, Mercy Brown, soon fell ill with the same symptoms. Mercy was a bright young woman, but tuberculosis did not spare her, and she died in January 1892 at the age of 19. Her death left the Brown family devastated, but the horror was not yet over. Just weeks after Mercy's passing, her brother, Edwin, who had been ill for some time, took a turn for the worse. Fearing for his life, desperate measures were taken, leading to the birth of an enduring legend. At the time, tuberculosis was not well understood, and in many rural communities, fear and superstition spread almost as quickly as the disease itself. In Exeter, some townsfolk began to whisper about the possibility of something more sinister. Could the dead be rising from their graves to drain the life from the living? This idea, while unthinkable to modern sensibilities, was deeply rooted in folklore at the time. In New England, there was a long-standing belief in vampires. Though these vampires were not the glamorous creatures of Gothic fiction, but rather the restless dead rising from their graves to consume the life force of their living relatives. George Brown, despite being a practical man, was persuaded by his neighbours to exhume the bodies of his deceased family members, hoping to find the cause of Edwin's worsening condition. In March of 1892, with the ground still frozen, a small group of men gathered in the graveyard where the Browns were buried. They first dug up the remains of George's wife and eldest daughter, but both had decomposed as expected. Then they turned to Mercy. Unlike the others, Mercy's body was found to be in a strangely preserved state, even though she had been buried for over 2 months. Her skin still appeared relatively intact, and there were even rumours that her body had shifted in the grave, as though she had been moving after death. The most alarming discovery, however, was the presence of fresh blood in her heart and veins. James Dean's untimely death in 1955 left an eerie shadow over Hollywood, a legacy of rebellion and tragedy. But it was not just his passing that stirred the imaginations of millions. It was the dark legend surrounding his beloved Porsche 550 Spider, ominously nicknamed Little Bastard. The car, the very machine in which Dean met his end on a lonely California highway, would go on to become infamous in its own right, woven into a web of curses, accidents, and unexplained events that would haunt anyone who dared come near it. Dean, known for his fascination with speed, had poured his passion into the sleek silver Porsche, a car that felt like an extension of his own persona. Dangerous, alluring, and defiant. Friends warned him about the car, claiming it gave off a sinister aura, but Dean shrugged off their concerns. Some even said they'd had visions of his death behind his wheel. Yet, on September 30th, 1955, as Dean raced down Route 466, met its fate, colliding with another vehicle in a brutal accident that killed him instantly. But while Dean's life ended that day, the story of Little Bastard had only just begun. The wreckage of the car was carted off, twisted and mangled, a ghostly reminder of the tragedy. Yet, for some, the remnants held a dark allure. People began to scavenge parts from the Porsche, hoping to claim a piece of history. But they would soon realise that they had taken more than just a piece of metal. They had inherited a curse. The parts from Dean's Little Bastard seemed to carry with them a thirst for destruction, a dark legacy that brought disaster upon any who dared touch it. The first victim was a mechanic who purchased the car's engine and installed it into his own race car. During his first race with the engine, he lost control, careening off the track and meeting his death in a fiery crash. Another racer, who had taken the transmission from Dean's Porsche, suffered a near-identical fate, his vehicle flipping violently on a seemingly safe track. Both men perished, their deaths eerily mirroring Dean's own tragic end, as if the spirit of Little Bastard demanded more lives. Other parts of the car met equally chilling fates. 2 tyres taken from the Porsche blew out simultaneously, causing the driver's car to swerve off the road and overturn, leaving him gravely injured. Those who witnessed the crash claimed that the tyres had seemed perfectly fine beforehand, as if they'd been sabotaged by an unseen force. Another story tells of a physician who purchased the Porsche's blood-stained seats, hoping to restore them, only to find his home inexplicably caught in a blaze soon after, destroying not only the seats, but his life's belongings. The fire's cause was never determined. The twisted remains of Little Bastard were eventually purchased by car customizer George Barris, who intended to display it as a cautionary symbol. But even as a lifeless display, the Porsche continued its path of destruction. In one instance, it fell off its display stand and crushed a nearby bystander's legs. Another time, it slipped loose from its moorings while being transported and killed a truck driver in a horrific accident. It was as if the car itself resented being confined, lashing out at anyone who dared contain it. The final mystery came in 1960, when Little Bastard was in transit to a museum exhibit. Somewhere along the journey, the cursed wreck simply vanished. No one could account for its disappearance, and to this day, Little Bastard remains lost, its twisted metal and dark history dissolved into thin air. Rumours abound, with some believing the car escaped to fulfill its unholy mission, others saying it was buried to rid the world of its curse, and a few even speculating that it reappears now and then, hidden in a collector's vault, waiting to be unleashed once more. The tale of Little Bastard endures, an urban legend of fear and fascination. For those who hear it, there's an uneasy question. Could a machine be haunted, possessed by the spirit of its past? In the eerie silence of Bucksport Cemetery, Maine, stands a towering obelisk, a seemingly ordinary monument, yet one that bears a sinister mark. This is the memorial of Jonathan Buck, a man remembered not just for his life, but for the curse that darkens his legacy. Etched onto the stone, like an ominous scar, is the unmistakable shape of a woman's stocking-clad foot, or perhaps a boot, a symbol both strange and chilling. Legend whispers that Buck, a man of influence in his time, condemned a woman to death for witchcraft. Her screams filled the air as the flames rose, but before she was silenced, she cursed him with her dying breath. "I shall haunt you," she vowed, "and mark your grave as a sign of your cruelty." Townsfolk say Buck scoffed, dismissing her words as the ravings of a vengeful spirit. But as the years passed, the curse began to take form. After Buck's death, an obelisk was raised in his honour. Soon, whispers emerged that a strange mark had appeared. A single, ghostly footprint of a woman's stockinged foot, etched deeply and inexplicably into the stone. No tools could erase it. Attempts to scrub it away only seemed to deepen the impression, as if the spirit herself were renewing her claim. Visitors to the cemetery tell of an unsettling presence around Buck's grave. Some report feeling a chill creeping over them, or catching sight of a shadowy figure in the corner of their eye, an outline of a woman standing near the cursed obelisk, her gaze fixed coldly upon it. Local law insists that this ghostly figure is the woman Buck condemned, bound forever to the stone, her foot branded there as a mark of vengeance. Over the years, strange misfortunes have befallen those who mock the legend or touch the footprint in jest. A man who dared to trace the outline of the foot with his hand fell ill the next day, his fevered dreams haunted by the spectre of a woman's boot pressing down on his chest, as if crushing the breath from him. Others have reported feeling an inexplicable weight upon them, a pressure that lingers long after they've left the cemetery. The curse of Jonathan Buck's memorial endures, a ghostly reminder of a promise made in fire and fury. And so, the warning stands. Those who approach this cursed obelisk may find themselves marked by forces that lie beyond, trapped forever in the shadow of a vengeful spirit's wrath. Hidden within the eerie expanse of Maple Hill Park in Huntsville, Alabama, lies a playground that few dare to visit after dark. Known as the Dead Children's Playground, it sits in the shadow of Maple Hill Cemetery, where countless lives were lost during the brutal Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. Many of these were children, tiny lives cut short by the merciless wave of illness that swept through the town. Their graves, small and silent, line the edges of the cemetery, just steps away from the playground, where swings now creak and echo through the night. As dusk falls, a haunting atmosphere descends upon the playground. Locals warn that the children who perished here never truly left. Strange occurrences have been reported for years. Swings move on their own, the rusted chains rattling as if gripped by invisible hands. In the sand beneath the slide, visitors find tiny footprints that appear suddenly and disappear just as mysteriously. Some who pass by in the evening hours have claimed to hear faint giggles or the distant sound of children calling out, voices carried on an unsettling breeze that seems to chill the very air around it. Witnesses describe seeing shadowy figures darting between the playground equipment, flickering in and out of sight like fading memories. A few brave souls have even claimed to catch glimpses of ghostly children, their pale forms just visible in the moonlight, with hollow, haunting eyes fixed on the swings. Others report feeling an icy touch on their shoulders or a tug at their clothing, as if tiny hands were reaching out, desperate to play just once more. Despite the renovations and new equipment, the playground remains a place haunted by sorrow and loss, as if the spirits of the past refuse to let go. It's said that the restless souls of these children are bound to this place, forever drawn to the playground they never had the chance to truly enjoy in life. Visitors leave trinkets, small toys and flowers by the swings, hoping to soothe the spirits that linger. For those those who know the tale, the Dead Children's Playground is not merely a place for children's laughter, but a portal to something darker. A reminder that some places are scarred by history, with memories and spirits that will not fade, even as time moves on. In the desolate hills of Bridgewater Corners, Vermont, a chilling legend whispers through the icy winds. The story of the Frozen Hill people, a tale as bleak as the winters that shroud the region. It begins on December 21st, 1887, a winter so cruel that it buried the hills under an unforgiving blanket of snow and ice, sealing off a poor family of hill farmers from the rest of the world. What happened in their isolated home during those endless frigid nights remains one of Vermont's darkest mysteries. The family, so impoverished they could barely afford to feed themselves, was known for their reclusive nature. They lived high in the hills, where even the hardiest dared not venture during winter's peak. As the snow piled higher, cutting them off completely, rumours spread in the nearby towns. Weeks passed with no sign of life from their cabin, no smoke curling from the chimney, no tracks in the snow. The silence was as suffocating as the frost. When the thaw finally came, a few brave townsfolk ventured to the cabin, fearing the worst. What they found chilled them to their very cores. The family's bodies were discovered, eerily preserved in the ice, frozen in unnatural positions. Their eyes, wide open, seemed to stare with an unsettling awareness, as if they had seen something horrific in their final moments. The mother sat upright in her chair, her hands clasped as if in prayer, her frozen face twisted in terror. The children were found huddled together in a corner, their mouths agape in silent screams. And the father, he was by the door, his hands bloodied, as if clawing at the wood in a desperate attempt to escape. But what truly horrified the townsfolk were the signs that something far darker had transpired. Strange symbols had been scratched into the walls, crude and jagged, as if made in a frenzy. Furniture was overturned, and strange claw-like marks marred the floor, leading to the snow-covered woods behind the cabin. Some claimed they could feel an oppressive presence in the room, an icy chill that wasn't from the weather. The legend grew, with whispers that the family had summoned something during their isolation, something ancient, malevolent, and hungry. Others believed they had been cursed by the very hills they tried to conquer, the land itself reclaiming their lives as punishment. To this day, locals avoid the area, swearing that on cold, moonlit nights, the cabin reappears, its windows glowing faintly with a ghostly light. Hikers who stray too close have reported hearing faint voices carried on the wind, desperate prayers, frantic whispers, and chilling screams that seem to echo from the past. Some claim to have seen frozen figures staring from the shadows of the trees, their eyes unblinking, their faces frozen in eternal terror. The Frozen Hill people remain a haunting reminder of nature's merciless grip and the darkness that can creep into the minds of the isolated. Their story lingers, as cold and unyielding as the winters that claimed them, a warning to all who dare to tread too far into Vermont's frozen hills. Let's journey into the peaceful waters of the Pacific coast, where legends of Cadborosaurus, a mysterious sea serpent, drift in the waves. Relax and let the soothing tale unfold. Cadborosaurus, affectionately known as Caddy, is a legendary sea serpent that has captured the imagination of many along the Pacific coast of reportedly been spotted numerous times over the years. The legend of Caddy has become a staple of local folklore, with stories of its sightings stretching from Alaska to California, although British Columbia remains its most frequent haunt. Described as a massive, snake-like creature, Cadborosaurus is said to possess a long serpentine body, often estimated to be between 10 to 50 feet in length. Witnesses describe its head as horse-like, with large eyes, and sometimes small horns or fins protruding from the sides. The creature is also thought to have humps along its back, similar to the classic sea serpent imagery that has been passed down through various cultures around the world. These humps are often visible as it glides just beneath the surface of the water, leaving a distinct wake in its path. Caddy's elusive nature adds to the mystery surrounding it. There are countless accounts from sailors, fishermen, and beachgoers who claim to have seen the creature, yet no definitive physical evidence has ever been produced to confirm its existence. The creature is usually reported to move with great speed, effortlessly cutting through the water, making it difficult to capture or photograph. Some theories suggest that Caddy could be a type of prehistoric marine animal that has managed to survive in the deep, unexplored waters of the Pacific. Others believe it could be an undiscovered species of giant eel or a relative of the oarfish, a long, ribbon-like fish known for its impressive size. Throughout the years, various expeditions and searches have been launched to find Cadborosaurus, but none have succeeded in proving the creature's existence. In 1937, the legend gained even more traction when the carcass of a strange sea creature, believed by some to be Caddy, was found in the stomach of a sperm whale. The discovery sparked a flurry of media attention, but the remains were never properly examined, and skeptics argue that the body was likely that of a known marine species. Despite the lack of solid evidence, the legend of Cadborosaurus lives on, inspiring curiosity and wonder about what might still be lurking beneath the waves. In South Korea, a strange and unsettling legend has persisted for nearly a century, a chilling warning whispered among families on hot summer nights. Beware of sleeping with a fan running in a closed room, or it may claim your life. Known as fan death, this belief insists that an electric fan left on overnight in a windowless room holds the power to kill, suffocating the sleeper in their bed. The origins of fan death stretch back to the 1920s and 1930s, an era of modernisation and new technology when the electric fan first arrived in Korea. Stories began to spread of people found dead in their rooms, the only constant a fan whirring beside them. The legend took on a life of its own, with families firmly convinced that a fan could drain the oxygen from a room, causing asphyxiation or lower body temperature to fatal levels. It became a superstition rooted in fear, and warnings echoed from generation to generation. Never sleep with the fan on, and always leave a window open. To this day, the fear remains ingrained in Korean households. In July 2011, the Korea Herald reported that a 59-year-old man had died mysteriously, with a fan aimed directly at him in his sealed room. It was as if the fan, silent and unseen, had become an executioner, waiting patiently for its victim. Some believe the fan spins like a sinister reaper in the dark, sapping the life from those who sleep too deeply under its cold breeze. Many scientists have dismissed the legend, but the fear lingers, and tales continue to circulate of those who ignore the warning, only to fall victim to the fan's deadly hum. The myth of fan death endures, a strange yet terrifying belief that leaves many cautious even today. Perhaps it's not merely a tale of superstition, but a reminder that some forces, once unleashed, carry a chilling weight that no science or reason can dispel. Let's unwind with a chilling tale. The choking Doberman, a mysterious intruder, a loyal pet, and a terrifying discovery will take you into the shadows. Relax and let the story begin. On a cold, dark night, a woman returned home after a long day. Her house was eerily silent, except for the faint sound of her Doberman whimpering. Startled, she rushed to find him slumped on the living room floor, struggling for air. The dog's body convulsed as it tried to cough up whatever was lodged in its throat. Panicked, the woman knelt beside her beloved pet, trying to comfort him. His choking worsened, and she knew she had to act fast. Without hesitation, she scooped up the Doberman and sped to the nearest vet clinic, her heart pounding as her dog gasped for air in the back seat. Every passing moment felt like an eternity. When they arrived, the vet wasted no time. They sedated the dog and began to investigate the source of the obstruction. What they found made the vet's face go pale. He slowly pulled out a severed human finger from the Doberman's throat. The woman stood frozen in shock as the vet explained what had caused her dog's distress. A chilling sense of dread crept over her. Whose finger was it? The vet urged her to call the police immediately. Shaking, she dialed 911 and told the dispatcher what had happened. The operator's voice, initially calm, quickly grew tense. "Get out of the house, Mom. Now." Confused and terrified, the woman grabbed her keys and ran outside, just as the police arrived. They searched the house, checking every room, every shadowy corner. In the master bedroom, they found him. A man hiding under the bed, bleeding profusely from his hand. His face twisted in agony, and his eyes were wide with panic. The police quickly apprehended him. It became clear that the intruder had broken into the house while the woman was away, but her Doberman had caught him in the act, biting off his finger as he fought back. The woman stood outside, staring at the house that had once felt like a sanctuary. The image of her brave dog choking on that grotesque finger replayed in her mind. Her blood running cold. What if the dog hadn't intervened? What if she had come home earlier? Those questions lingered, gnawing at her sanity, long after the intruder was taken away. The dog, her loyal protector, had saved her life, but at a horrifying cost. In the shadowy realm of Latin American folklore, a sinister whisper of the cuckoo stirs unease during the darkest hours. Known as the malevolent counterpart to the benign boogeyman of other cultures, the cuckoo is a creature of nightmares, thriving on the fears of both the young and old. This ghostly monster is no mere invention to coax children into obedience, but a terrifying spectre believed to lurk in the shadows of the night, waiting to snatch away those who dare defy the veil of night stillness. The legend of the cuckoo has been passed down through generations, a chilling narrative that varies slightly from region to region, but maintains its core essence. The cuckoo is a shapeless Its presence is always cloaked in the rustling of leaves or the soft creaks of a settling house, its breath a cold gust foretelling doom. Elders in the community speak of their own fearful encounters, of nights filled with inexplicable cold drafts and fleeting shadows seen from the corners of their eyes. They recount stories of friends long gone, spirited away by the kukui, leaving behind nothing but a chilling silence and an unspoken warning to heed the boundaries set by the light. Some tales take a more gruesome turn, describing how the kukui feeds on fear, drawing closer with each terrified heartbeat. The more you fear, the stronger it becomes. Its whisper, a sound like the dragging of chains in the depths of the unseen. Those who listen closely on windy nights might still hear the faint cries of its victims, a permanent echo of their eternal torment. To confront the kukui is to face an ancient and relentless evil, a reminder of the dark corners of the world where old spirits refuse to be forgotten. It is a creature born from the darkness of the human psyche, a manifestation of the terror of the unknown and the unseen. In the lore of Latin America, the kukui remains a potent symbol of the night's darkest reach, a spectre forever waiting in the shadowy fringes of fear. In the shadowed realms of rural lore, where the line between jest and truth blurs, the legend of cow tipping haunts the fields and farmyards. Said to be a moonlit escapade for thrill-seeking youths, this bizarre activity involves the stealthy approach towards an unsuspecting cow, fast asleep standing upright in the darkness, and the sudden, forceful shove to topple the massive beast over for mere sport. But beyond the surface of this seemingly harmless prank lies a more chilling narrative, whispered among those who know the countryside's true face after dark. As the legend goes, in a secluded farming community, enveloped by the embrace of ancient woods and forgotten roads, cow tipping became more than just a reckless pastime. It morphed into a ritual of fear. The teens of this town, driven by boredom and the intoxicating rush of defiance, would venture out into the fields under the guise of night, their laughter slicing through the silence like a cold wind. But there was one night that turned their mischievous jaunt into a nightmare. As the group approached a familiar pasture, the moon hung low and ominous, bathing everything in a ghostly silver hue. The cows stood like monolithic statues in the mist, their breath forming clouds in the crisp air. Emboldened by the eerie night, the teens singled out a large, shadowy figure at the edge of the field. With a mix of exhilaration and alcohol-fueled bravado, they crept up to the sleeping cow. However, as they laid their hands on the creature, ready to push, the cow did not budge. Instead, it slowly turned its head, revealing not the docile eyes of a farm animal, but the glowing red orbs of a creature from deeper shadows. The teens froze, their hearts pounding as the cow, or the thing that masqueraded as one, rose unnaturally on its hind legs, towering over them with a menacing presence. Panic erupted as the creature chased them through the fields, its form blurring between beast and spectre, its bellows a grotesque parody of bovine grunts mixed with something far older and angrier. The youths scattered, screaming into the night, forever marked by the terror of what they had provoked. Those who returned spoke little of the incident, their eyes haunted by the memory. The story spread, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires and during late-night gatherings. Cow tipping was no longer seen as a harmless challenge, but as a dare with potentially dire consequences. To this day, the fields at the edge of that town remain untouched at night, the cows left to their peaceful slumber. For the locals know that some rural myths are better left untested, and that disturbing the natural order can awaken beings best left asleep in the darkness. Tonight we take a quiet journey into the eerie legend of the chupacabra. Let the mystery of the goatsucker guide you into a peaceful slumber as we unravel this chilling tale. In the remote shadowed corners of the Americas, whispers carry a name: the chupacabra. Born from terror and blood, this cryptid first slithered into legend on the stormy nights of Puerto Rico. Farmers would wake to a nightmare, their once lively goats drained of life, eyes glassy, throats pierced by two perfect holes. The blood was gone, as if sucked dry by some unholy predator. They say the name, chupacabra, stems from its insidious habits. Chupa, meaning to suck, and cabra, meaning goat. And so it was called the goatsucker, a beast with an insatiable thirst for blood. As dawn broke and bodies of livestock lay scattered, many wondered what kind of creature could commit such carnage. Described as reptilian or dog-like, the chupacabra is said to move with an unnatural grace, its skin scaly, cold to the touch, with glowing red eyes that burn through the night like molten embers. It creeps silently through the fields, avoiding human eyes, until it strikes, leaving nothing but empty carcasses and fear in its wake. Reports of its presence spread beyond Puerto Rico, with sightings in Mexico, South America, and even the southern United States. In each case, the telltale signs were the same: drained livestock, puncture wounds, and an eerie, lingering silence that chilled the blood of those left behind. Some claimed to see it with their own eyes, a monstrous figure crouching low to the ground, waiting for the moment to pounce. Its movements were quick, almost too fast to follow, vanishing into the darkness as quickly as it appeared. Legends tell that the chupacabra was a cursed experiment gone wrong, a mutated creature that escaped from the depths of a secret lab, its body forever twisted into something both alien and grotesque. Others believe it is something far older, a demonic force that has existed for centuries, waiting for the right moment to return and feast upon the world. To this day, people fear the shadow of the chupacabra, dreading the eerie silence that falls over their farms at night. They lock their doors and guard their animals, praying that they will not be the next victims of the creature that stalks in the dark, thirsting for blood. As long as the chupacabra remains a mystery, it will continue to haunt the imagination of those who dare to walk the lonely roads, wondering if tonight will be the night they hear the hiss of the goatsucker closing in. Tonight, let's uncover the haunting legend of the Bell Witch, a mysterious entity that terrorized a family in early 19th century Tennessee. Relax and let this eerie tale guide you to restful sleep. The Bell Witch is an enduring folklore legend that originated in Robertson County, Tennessee, from 1817 to 1821. The story centers around the Bell family, particularly John Bell Sr., a farmer whose household and nearby community were reportedly terrorized by a mysterious and mostly invisible entity. Unlike typical ghost stories, the Bell Witch was said to be capable of speaking, interacting with the physical environment, and even shape-shifting. According to legend, the haunting began when John Bell Sr. encountered strange phenomena on his property, including unexplained noises such as knocking and scratching, and the sighting of bizarre animals. As time went on, the entity became more aggressive, attacking family members by pulling their hair, slapping them, and speaking in a disembodied voice. The witch, as it came to be known, seemed to hold a particular hatred for John Bell Sr. and his daughter Betsy. even claim that the witch was responsible for John Bell Singer's death in 1820, allegedly poisoning him. Over the years, the Bell Witch legend has grown into a widely known ghost story, with many believing it to be one of the most famous hauntings in American history. While the true cause of the events remains a mystery, the story of the Bell Witch continues to capture the imaginations of those fascinated by the paranormal. The legend persists today, with people still visiting the site in Tennessee, where the Bell family once lived, in search of answers to the eerie tale. On the eerie evening of September the 20th, 1965, in the quiet seaside town of Felixstowe, England, a terrifying event unfolded, one that would become known as the legend of the Felixstowe fire demon. Witnesses claimed to have seen something unnatural that night, an encounter so horrifying that it would haunt the town's memory for years to come. It began with strange lights in the sky. Around midnight, residents reported seeing glowing red and orange orbs floating above the coastline, moving with unnatural speed and precision. These lights were unlike any aircraft known at the time, pulsing with a fiery intensity that seemed almost alive. But it wasn't the lights that struck fear into the hearts of Felixstowe's residents. It was what came next. A young couple, drawn by the unusual lights, ventured closer to the shore. As they approached, a figure emerged from the darkness, illuminated by the fiery glow. They described it as a tall, humanoid being, yet something was horribly wrong. The creature's body seemed to shimmer with a heat wave-like distortion, as though it was surrounded by invisible flames. Its eyes were fiery embers, burning with a malevolent red glow that seemed to pierce straight into their souls. The couple stood frozen as the entity approached, its movements slow and deliberate, almost predatory. A faint crackling sound, like the hiss of burning coals, filled the air, and the air around them grew stiflingly hot. The creature stretched out a long, claw-like hand, and in that moment, the couple fled, overwhelmed by an overwhelming sense of dread. They ran through the darkened streets, their minds reeling from what they'd just encountered. Other townspeople reported feeling an inexplicable heat that night, even inside their homes, as if the fire demon had cast a spell of warmth across the entire town. Some claimed that the creature had left scorched footprints along the beach, deep impressions jarred into the sand that no waves could wash away. But by morning, there was no trace of the creature, only the lingering terror of its fiery gaze and the charred marks left in its wake. Local authorities dismissed the event, attributing the lights to atmospheric phenomena and the creature to the overactive imaginations of frightened witnesses. But those who saw the Felixstowe fire demon knew the truth. A being from another world, forged in fire, had stepped into their world, leaving a scar in Felixstowe's memory that would never fade. Today, the legend of the Felixstowe fire demon endures, a chilling reminder that some mysteries defy